Algier out to the 35. This time London. He held on. He's on to slip through and score. Bates talking. Jesse Bates interception. 15, 10, 5. Drive home safely.
Falcons fans, what's up and welcome back to Falcons Final Whistle. The Atlanta Falcons unfortunately dropped their third game of the season, falling on the road 20-10 to the San Francisco 49ers. They are now 3-3. Their two-game win streak ended at 2. And honestly, I've seen a lot of reaction from the fan base that I want to get to here. But if you're new to the show, if you're new to Falcons Final Whistle, here's how it all works. We have 4 quarters. Each quarter is going to take 6 minutes. At the end of each quarter, you're going to hear a whistle, which means we've got to move on to the next quarter. Because this is a road game, Tori McElhaney, our intrepid, excellent reporter, is on location in San Francisco. She is going to call in and join me for the second and third quarters. I'm going to hit you up top with my thoughts for the game, and then our producer, Jared, is going to join me for the fourth and final quarter. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's move on to quarter number 1. I've seen a lot of reaction kind of after the game about this is an inexcusable loss, X, Y, and Z along those same lines. And yes, I get that this is a very demoralizing loss, right? After the highs of the Buffalo Bills and then going on the road and kind of beating your chest and thumping your chest as, hey, we are back in the NFC, look out for the Atlanta Falcons. And then to go up against another NFC contender in the San Francisco 49ers, you feel like it's toe-to-toe. We're going to come in, we're going to beat you in your house and kind of stake our claim that we are here as contenders. So I totally understand the disappointment that you didn't do it, because I'm disappointed too, right? I think everybody should be. This is a little bit of a letdown, because it was the opportunity for you to kind of fully prove and say beyond the shadow of a doubt, this is a different Falcons group. I still believe that it is a different Falcons group. I don't believe it's an inexcusable loss, because I kind of think that the way that San Francisco played you in this game tells you that this is a team to be taken seriously. Like this, the 49ers have been to the NFC Championship game, 2 or 3 times over the last 5 years. They've been to the Super Bowl. They are a very good team with very good players who have playoff aspirations and more. Right? So these are the types of games you should be playing in. And also, these are the types of games that you have to learn how to win. Because a team like the 49ers is not going to allow you to hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson all day long. They are going to key on your run game and hold you to 62 yards rushing on the night. So what do you have to do? You have to then adjust. You have to go to your other outlets, because, again, if you're going to be playing in these types of games and winning in these types of games, you sometimes have to win ugly. And that, to me, is kind of the key takeaway from this one, is that the Falcons just need to learn how to kind of get down in the muck with everybody else. It's something that they showed, I think, in week 1 a little bit too against Tampa, is they can't do this. But can they sustain it for long enough to really, truly take and absorb those shots, give them back, and keep moving forward, even when there are some setbacks and even when everything is not working perfectly? I kind of thought the way they got Kyle Pitts involved in this game was a big step forward, right? And early on, I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I am talking about, is that, all right, they're going to take away Bijan Robinson. They're going to take away Drake London a little bit. I thought the coverage for San Francisco was very tight all night long. They were really jamming the receiver. They were almost kind of doing to Atlanta what Atlanta was doing to Buffalo, which is bringing a lot of pressure, which I'm not necessarily sure is the San Francisco 49ers MO so far this year under Robert Saleh. So I think that was a little bit new. We knew Atlanta was the most blitz-happy team coming into this game in the league. Not so sure that the 49ers were. So wrinkles, right? Differences in what you expect. And again, that is why I think ultimately it was kind of a testament to what this Atlanta team is capable of. But they have to learn from this type of game. They have to learn how to win when things are not going right, when you lose a Divine Diablo early on in the game. And it was very clear the impact that he made. If anybody has any more reservations about how important Divine Diablo is, you got rid of him tonight, right? So Caden Ellis played great, I thought. I thought the secondary, for the most part, played pretty well. George Kittle didn't have a catch, even though he was coming back. Realistically, it comes down to a few things. It comes down to the inability to consistently defend the run, which gets harder to do the longer that you keep the game in the balance or you are behind. And it came down to your inability to set up your offense, which mostly funnels through the run. And because the 49ers were able to effectively, never thought I'd say this, take Bijan Robinson away a little bit, Atlanta just didn't have a consistent counter. And Drake London has been awesome in that mold moving forward. Kyle Pitts, I thought, again, was really good tonight. And Darnell Mooney is working his way back. So I do think the Falcons, as Michael Penix Jr. said after the game, they've got the talent in place. They can do this. They just kind of, I think, have to learn how to. And I do think that it involves the entire offense. I think it involves the scheme, some of the play calls in the red zone, execution, all of that. So this is something that I do think the Falcons need to learn from. Do I think the sky is falling? By no means is the sky falling. So that's kind of my overall thought on the big picture of tonight's game. It's a disappointing loss for sure, 20-10. But we're going to get into more of the specifics with Tori McElhaney right now in our second quarter. Live from San Francisco. Tori, how you doing?
I've been better, I think.
That's very fair. All right, so we wanted to talk a little bit about just the Falcons' inability to run the ball tonight. I think it surprised both of us from different coasts. You know, I could just feel the energy, the vibe coming off of you. You were a little disappointed in the Falcons' run game tonight. You know, why?
Well, I think that you have an opportunity to really do something special after what Bijan Robinson did on Monday Night Football, and then to see that they come out and they only average 3.1 yards per carry on 20 carries, and the fact that Bijan Robinson only averaged 2.9 yards per carry. The longest run he had was 8 yards. I mean, this is not the calling card of what this offense is and what they want to do. And it just goes to show like what happens when the Falcons run game and their offense is not firing on all cylinders. It's very reminiscent of what that Tampa Bay game in week one ultimately was. And so I think for that reason, it's why you really, really know that this offense relies heavily on Bijan Robinson being the engine for it. And so when that engine is not chugging, it causes problems.
Absolutely, yeah. And I thought kind of in particular, it was interesting, the run game outside of the tackles, which has been such a strength for Atlanta's offense, really was shut down tonight by San Francisco's defense. You know, I saw a next-gen stat after the game. Bijan Robinson had 390 yards on outside runs coming into this game. He had 34 yards on 12 carries tonight. So that right there kind of shows you, you know, Jake Matthews coming into this game banged up, right? It was in question whether or not he was going to make his, you know, active streak record setting 184th career start. He did, but you know, when you have a number like that and a stat like that for a player as explosive and as dangerous on the edges as Bijan Robinson, you know, you wonder if that injury and then, you know, Elijah Wilkinson on the other side enters the season as kind of third on the depth chart, if that took its toll tonight.
Yeah, and I think that it's only heightened, like the Falcons' inability to run the ball is only heightened by the fact that the 49ers had absolutely no trouble running the ball. Like Christian McCaffrey
Yep.
ends with almost 130 total rushing yards. And I think like when you go into a game where the entire conversation and narrative around the game is it's the Bijan Robinson versus Christian McCaffrey showdown and Bijan coming off of what he did Monday night. I mean, it really only heightens the Falcons' inability to do much of anything running the ball at all. And I mean, there was never a point in time where it felt like anything was easy for them, whether it was throwing the ball, whether it was running the ball. There was no point in time in those four quarters where I felt like, oh, they've got something going and they're moving the ball well, maybe outside of that one touchdown scoring drive, but where they got the ball, you know, at midfield after the Jamal Agnew return. But I think other than that, it never felt easy. And I mean, I guess you do have to give credit to Robert Saleh and this defense for showing up and having a game plan and attacking the Falcons and taking away their strength. But if you're the Falcons and you know that you want to be that they've never made it a secret. They're like, we're gonna run the ball. We're a run first team. And so when that is completely taken away, this is kind of what happens. And again, it just feels very reminiscent to that week one Tampa game where the Falcons run game was almost completely taken away. I believe Bijan Robinson averaged 2.9 yards per carry in that game as well.
Yeah, it is crazy the parallels kind of between both of those. And when Atlanta's run game, like in a weird way, you saw kind of, I think, what Atlanta is going for in the way San Francisco played tonight, right? Where you have a stout defense, and we'll get to San Francisco's defense, I think, a little bit more in the third quarter, because they did some things that were surprising to me, but they also kind of did just the number one thing on the most obvious list, which is shut down the run game. And when Atlanta's run game is not able to really get going, you see how it kind of bogs down the rest of the offense. Were you surprised that it bogged down just as much as it did on Sunday night?
Yeah, I was. I think because, we've seen the Falcons do kind of some really good things against some bloated boxes recently, whether it be the
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo Bills or the Washington Commanders. Like those were two defenses that definitely wanted to take the run away, but the Falcons were able to run the ball even when they were actively trying to do that. Whereas today against the 49ers, it felt like, I don't know, I don't necessarily think I don't think there was here's the thing is like I ultimately when I look at this offensive performance, I can't just put it on like one singular thing as to why the Falcons only scored 10 points today. It really did feel like a microcosm, like the entire unit not blocking well up front, the run game not manifesting, some miscues on Michael Penix Jr.'s part. I mean, there were just so many different avenues of this offense that weren't clicking and weren't firing on all cylinders. And I think that's ultimately kind of like when you can't rely on the one thing that you're so used to relying on and feel so good about, your bread and butter, like what happened tonight is kind of indicative of that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that is our whistle, and you are going to run off and talk to Michael Penix next. I believe he's going to take the podium here soon. So we will touch base with you again, Tori, for the third quarter to kind of talk a little bit more about the offense and hear what Michael Penix Jr. had to say.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll be right back.
Today's halftime is brought to you by Microsoft Copilot, which helped us create this incredible outline for today's podcast. Microsoft Copilot stat for you has to do with pressure. Michael Penix was pressured 11 times on 42 dropbacks Sunday night. He did not complete one of his 9 passes while under pressure, and he was sacked twice. However, on the flip side, when he was not pressured, he was 21 of 29 for 241 yards and a touchdown. So I think it was a smart move by Robert Saleh to pressure the Falcons as much as he did. I do think it is something that Michael Penix will learn from, and this offense will ultimately be better because of it. But it worked out for the 49ers tonight, and ultimately the defense for San Francisco got the better of Atlanta's offense. So that is our halftime stat brought to you by Microsoft Copilot. We will see you in the third quarter. We are back with Tori McElhaney for the third quarter. Tori, you just heard from Michael Penix Jr. Can you briefly tell us what he had to say just kind of about the offensive performance tonight?
Yeah, I think the main point of what he said and what was kind of this idea of the Falcons have too many good players on this team to not find a way to win games.
I agree.
And I kind of asked the question of like, well, what were the 49ers doing to take away the run? And he kind of was like, they did take away the run, but we should be able to do things outside of the run to score points. And I think like he talked about missed opportunities. He talked about kind of like wanting to be better holistically, and this offense ultimately not scoring and not capitalizing in the moments and in the time periods that they ultimately needed to. Because like what he said, he was like, we were not without opportunities. We were not without moments to capitalize on and put points on the board. So because of that, it was kind of this, it goes back to what I was even saying in the last quarter, where it's like a holistic thing of like, there were a lot of issues offensively that happened in these 4 quarters tonight that it created this kind of perfect storm for this offense to not do what they do best. Also, sorry if you're hearing like all of this ambient noise. Everybody's packing up to go get on the bus.
Hey, that is okay. We will deal with some ambient noise if it means we get some on location reporting from one of the best reporters on the Falcons beat. So
Oh, stop.
so yeah, I do agree. I mean, I think that you see what the Falcons want to be. In a weird way, it's kind of like what the 49ers were tonight. And the march down the field, 19 plays, kind of at the end of the first quarter, leading into the beginning of the second quarter, I think was indicative of not just Atlanta's performance tonight, but a little bit of their performance so far this season through 7 weeks. And you have this clock eating, melting drive where you're doing a little bit of everything. Yeah, you're getting some penalties that extend drives, but this is the NFL. It's bound to happen. And they were running the ball. They were mixing in the pass. Michael Penix was going. And then you just kind of get down across the 50 and down closer to the red zone and in the red zone. And it all starts to bog down a little bit. And ultimately, you come away with just a field goal when you were very well poised to make it an early 7-0 lead, and you start to kind of like make the game move in your favor like they did against Buffalo. What did you see there, and why has it been so hard for Atlanta to kind of score in the red zone, do you think, this season?
I don't know. I think it goes back to actually something. I know that's, amazing analysis. I don't know. But I do think it goes back to something that Zach Robinson said. I believe it was after the Minnesota Vikings game where, again, the Falcons struggled to score. They didn't struggle to move the ball 20-yard line to 20-yard line, but once they kind of got in the red zone, they couldn't punch it in essentially. And I believe he kind of said, we need to be better on first and second down to put us in more manageable third down situations. And there were a lot of times today that I felt that. I felt like because it all stems again from the Falcons' inability to run the ball. Because they weren't able to pick up 4 or 5 yards on first or second down, they were in what felt like more middle of the range third downs, if not third and longs tonight. And I think that makes things a lot more difficult when you shrink the field and you do get closer and closer to the end zone, because then the way a defense plays you, it also shrinks the field for them and it takes away the quote unquote explosive play. And so I think that's where the Falcons are kind of getting hung up a little bit. And I also think that one drive that you're talking about, which was like a 19 play drive that only resulted in a field goal, and the field goal was the 19th play of that drive. So 18 plays and you don't come away with points. There was this kind of demoralizing feeling when you don't do that. It's demoralizing for the offense. It's also demoralizing for a defense to kind of be like, yo, we got you the ball back. Or we turned the ball over. It's and you didn't do anything.
Give us a lead.
It kind of becomes this for a whole team, it becomes really a difficult moment when you don't punch the ball in and get a touchdown. So ultimately, what does this mean for the Falcons? I think this is a trend that the Falcons have shown over the course of 6 games, that it's hey, when they are losing games and even sometimes when they're winning games, a key issue that has reigned supreme for 6 games is the inability to punch the ball into the end zone to the degree and to the clip you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has been, in my opinion, that's kind of the number one thing they need to get cleaned up if they're going to evolve into a playoff team in the NFC. Really quickly, Tori, what did Michael Penix have to say about kind of right before halftime, the intentional grounding call? I know Raheem said coming out of the half, he thought there would be 1 second left on the clock. What did Mike say afterwards?
Mike really just kind of said, I was just trying not to take a sack in that situation and, not getting the team out of field goal range or anything like that. That's what his mindset was. So I think he didn't even realize when he threw the ball away, oh, I'm not out of the tackle box. And I think that's the gist that he said. And one note I'll leave you on before I go and run to the bus: the Falcons have only scored 1 touchdown in their last 6 quarters. Oof. And that is not who this offense wants to be.
No, certainly not the way that they came out against Buffalo. But thank you so much, Tori, for taking the time. Go grab that bus, and I will see you Probably not bright and early Tuesday. I'll see you late in the afternoon on Tuesday.
There you go. I'll see you then.
There goes Tori, and in comes our producer, Jared. Jared Call is joining me. Jared, what was your just like really quick or overall thoughts on tonight's game, expectations going in off of the Buffalo win, and then kind of your evaluation of just the performance tonight?
I was really surprised coming into the game that San Francisco was favored because I
Hmm.
thought the Falcons were picking up steam. I thought we looked really good against Buffalo. San Francisco's been kind of in this like limbo with all their injuries, and so I was like,
Yeah.
feeling pretty good coming into this game. But very soon the game proved to be a very different kind of game than the Falcons are used to winning lately. It's been a lot of quick starts, a lot of not necessarily shootout games, but high scoring games. And this one from, right off the bat, we were talking before the show. First quarter was over in like 45 minutes, it felt like. This was going to be just a
Yeah.
low scoring slugfest. And I think it kind of caught the Falcons by surprise, and they weren't quite able to get up off the mat after those first couple of drives didn't end up in any points.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's similar to me in that it's like kind of the week one game over again, where I felt like that Tampa and Atlanta in that game were very similarly matched, kind of playing a grind it out style. But in that game, I thought Atlanta was the better team and that they lost the game. Obviously, kind of had the chance to take it in overtime. You missed the kick there. They lost the game because of like some shoot yourself in the foot moments.
Hmm.
In this one, I did feel San Francisco was the better team, particularly just because of the way their offense was able to get it going. I don't think Atlanta's defense played poorly by any means, but I think that that was the difference there in this one. So it's kind of like, to your point, Atlanta, like to be a playoff team, you have to win some of these close games, and the close games exist every week in the NFL. The Falcons are not, unique to this. I think I saw a stat today where it's like the Arizona Cardinals are 2-5 and have lost their 5 games by a combined 13 points, right? So if you're an Arizona fan, you're like you feel like the season's over and it's insane how little the margin is. That is the margin though in the league. And that's where the Falcons kind of that next obstacle for them is you've seen them get up for these big games. Now it's learning how to win the tough games that you're not necessarily up for, or that the other team is maybe just as up for and has a great game plan for you, right? So can you play left-handed? Because that ultimately, I think the 49ers gave the Falcons a great sign of respect here in that like they kind of
Hmm.
brought a really good game plan into this game. Their players were locked in. They wanted to make Atlanta have to play left-handed. And if you're not a good team, I don't think that's always the game plan, right? Like,
Right.
so you kind of saw it felt in a weird way a little playoffy tonight, even though I don't think either team is close to a playoff version of themselves.
Right, right, 100%, and I totally get what you're saying, and I think in that way that this is a great learning experience for this young Atlanta Falcons team. You got to learn, hey, Bijan Robinson has been absolutely carrying this team, right? There's been a lot of performance from Mike Penix Jr., from Drake London. Kyle Pitts has been in the mix a lot, but this offense has revolved around Bijan Robinson. And
Yep.
today he has, what was it, 6 receptions on 8 targets, 14 carries for like 40 yards. This was a game where like San Francisco's defense was keen on Bijan all night long. They took him
Yep.
away and they forced the Falcons to beat him with their other weapons, and they weren't able to do so. And so I think the fact that you're getting this game in week 7 with a lot of football left to play in this season. This could mean a lot coming down for all these young players. Learning, hey, this is what we need to do when we're getting blitzed out the wazoo in the fourth quarter, and we need 2 scores to get back into this game. This is going to be a great learning experience moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about moving forward. I said in the lead up to the Bills game, hey, good teams don't lose back to back games, right? So the Falcons have a great chance to rebound on tap against a Miami Dolphins team that is reeling maybe as much as any in the league, right? So again, this being the NFL, any team on any Sunday can beat you. But returning back home against these Miami Dolphins, yeah, I would expect the Falcons to really be locked in for this game to get one at home because Jared, the stretch after that, at one point, looking at the schedule when you get it in what is that, May? Like This stretch probably felt like the most attainable for Atlanta. Now, all of a sudden, I'm looking at after Miami, you've got the New England Patriots and you've got the Indianapolis Colts, both of which are on the road. Those are two of the best teams in the NFL. And then you get back home for a revenge game against the Carolina Panthers, but it's not going to be so easy because you're coming back from Berlin. So what do you make, Jared, of the Falcons' kind of next 4 games, and how important is it for the offense to learn some of the lessons from tonight?
Like you said, it's going to be really tough. You really need to learn your lessons here because, like you said, this Dolphins team is reeling. This Dolphins team is not going to be able to make you play left-handed, as you say. Again, this is the NFL. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. But it doesn't feel like the Falcons are going to be put to the test like they were tonight against the Dolphins. But maybe you want that because then you have to go on the road to New England, right? You said to Germany, and the fact that you have to go on the road to New England and then over to Germany to play the Colts and then back home with no extra rest. There's no mini bye for like a Thursday or a Monday game. These are all just bang, 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 back to back to back. So you really hope that this team, this coaching staff can learn from this 49ers game, put those things into practice against the Dolphins, get some momentum going into that 3-game stretch. And then, on the other side, you really hope you went 2-1. You definitely have to come out at least, at the very worst, you have to come out 2-2 out of these next 4 games against the Dolphins, Patriots, Colts, and Panthers.
Yeah, I guess if there is, it's funny. I feel like every year we get the schedule and it's kind of like, oh, the Falcons have one of the easiest schedules in the league. And then by the time we're like in the thick of it or we're wrapping up and looking back at it, it's wound up to be one of the most difficult because there's like 2 or 3 teams in the league that come out of nowhere and surprise everybody. And I always feel like they're on the Falcons schedule. And this year, they're 2 of your next 3 opponents in the Patriots and the Colts. But like in a weird way, the next 3 being against AFC teams, like that, I want to kind of read into that. But when you have 3 losses already, you got to start winning them all. But if the Falcons do take a little bit of time to kind of like something finds their footing and then maybe a step back and then a step forward, like at least these 3 weeks are not in your conference and you can maybe get some things corrected because your final 5 games are all NFC games and they're going to be tough as well. So if the Falcons can just kind of like tread water and maybe do a reverse of what they did last year where you really catch fire over the last home stretch. I mean, that's what worked in 2016. It's what worked in 2017. Like those are your playoff years that you look back on. That's what I think Atlanta's got to be going for. But it really does, I think, start with the offense. How surprised were you at this offense performance tonight?
Frankly, I was very surprised. It was very surprising not to see Bijan do everything that he has done like this entire season. I'm really this offense needs to figure out how to score touchdowns. I mean, like you said earlier, you got to figure out how to not shoot yourself in the foot. There's too many times where you take an intentional grounding before halftime. You get 2 penalties back to back that take you out of field goal range, and you got to punt the ball. That's happening way too many times for this team. They're very correctable mistakes, but you need to figure it out because it's go time, like you said.
All right, it's go time. That is our final whistle. So it's time for us to go. For Tori McElhaney, Jared Paul, I am Will McFadden. Please keep your eyes peeled for Atlanta or to AtlantaFalcons.com throughout the week. We'll have all the coverage about this team, the corrections they're going to make, everything like that. Stay tuned for Falcons Audible coming to you midweek, and then we got our Friday 5 coming to you on a Friday. So again, for everybody on this show, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.